There's something you say every single day, something you've been saying for years, and most people have no idea that those words are the reason they keep getting exactly what they don't want. I'm not talking about affirmations. I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm talking about something far more ancient, far more precise, and far more dangerous if left unexamined. The moment you truly understand this, you will never speak the same way again. Let me ask you something. Have you ever prayed for something in the morning and then spent the rest of the day contradicting that prayer with every sentence you spoke? You asked for abundance and then said, "I can never catch a break." You asked for love and then told yourself, "No one stays anyway." You asked for health and then declared, "My body has always been a problem." And then you waited and nothing came. And somewhere deep inside, a small voice said, "Maybe it just doesn't work for me." But here's what no one told you. It was working perfectly. It was just responding to the wrong signal. Think of a man named Marcus, brilliant, hard-working, full of potential. Every morning he'd sit quietly and visualize his dream, his own company, financial freedom, the version of himself he knew he could become. But by 9 a.m., Marcus was already saying things like, "The market is impossible right now. Someone like me doesn't get those kinds of breaks. I've tried before and it fell apart." Marcus thought he was being realistic. He wasn't. He was programming his field. Every word he spoke after that morning visualization was an instruction sent to the universe, a counter-instruction that drowned out everything he'd asked for. Marcus wasn't unlucky. Marcus was fluent in the language of limitation. Here's what ancient wisdom already knew, and what quantum mechanics is only now beginning to confirm. The word abracadabra. You've heard it. You've laughed at it. You've seen it in cartoons and magic shows. But do you know what it actually means? Abracadabra comes from Aramaic, and in that language it means, "I create as I speak," or more precisely, "Let it be made as I say." An ancient civilization, thousands of years before neuroscience or quantum field theory, already understood something we are still struggling to accept. Your words do not describe reality. Your words create it. Now I want you to think about the most famous opening line in Western civilization. "In the beginning was the Word." That's the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. Most people read this as a religious statement, but look closer. Before anything existed, before light, before form, before matter, there was word, there was communication, there was declaration. The sequence of creation, as described in the oldest texts humans have ever written, is always the same. First, the word, then the manifestation. First you declare, then you experience. First you communicate the intention, then reality reorganizes itself to reflect it. This isn't poetry. This is the architecture of existence, and here's where it becomes personal. You were made in the image of that same creative force. You are a microcosm of that same macrocosm, which means you also create as you speak. The only question is, what are you creating? Let's get precise about why this breaks down for most people. Researchers at the University of California found that only 7% of communication is verbal, the actual words you say. The other, 93%, tone of voice, body language, energy, presence. So when you say, "I am confident," but your shoulders are hunched, your voice is barely audible, and your eyes are avoiding contact, what message is actually being sent? Not confidence, insecurity. And the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you're actually transmitting. This is what I call vibrational noise. There are 3 types of communication happening inside you at all times. The first is interpersonal, how you communicate with others. The second is intrapersonal, how you communicate with yourself. The third is with the field, how you communicate with life itself, with the universe, with whatever you call the creative intelligence behind existence. And in all 3 channels, most people are transmitting static. Let's talk about the noise inside you first, that internal voice, the one that never stops. You don't deserve this. Remember the last time you tried? People like you don't get that kind of life. You've become so used to it that you don't even hear it anymore. It runs in the background, like a program you forgot you installed. But it's not silent. It's loud. And everything you build on top of it carries that frequency. You can say the most beautiful affirmations in the world. You can write your goals every morning. You can create vision boards. But if your soul, your actual internal transmission, is still vibrating at the frequency of, "I don't really believe this is possible for me," then all those words are just noise trying to drown out a deeper signal. And the deeper signal always wins. Now let's talk about the noise in your communication with the field. This is the most subtle kind and the most costly. It sounds like doubt. Does this even work? Is anyone actually listening? It sounds like impatience. I've been asking for months. Where is it? It sounds like contradiction. You pray for abundance in the morning and spend the rest of the day saying, "I can't afford that. Money is always tight. Nothing ever works out for me." This is the spiritual short circuit. You're trying to tune into one frequency while broadcasting another, and the field doesn't hear your words. The field feels your frequency. So how do you clean this up? There's a practice I call pre-alignment. Before any significant communication, a conversation, a meeting, an important decision, even a difficult phone call, you pause and align with the result you want. Not the result you fear, the result you want. You close your eyes, if only for 60 seconds. You see it, you feel it. You let it become real inside you before it becomes real outside you. You imagine the meeting going well. You imagine the person receiving your words with openness. You imagine yourself speaking from a place of clarity, of ease, of certainty. You are not lying to yourself. You are following the ancient sequence. First, the word. First, the intention. First, the inner declaration. Then, the manifestation. This is how creation works. It has always worked this way. You are simply learning to do it consciously, instead of letting your fears do it for you automatically. But here's the piece that most people miss. This isn't about what you say, it's about where the words come from. Two people can say the exact same sentence and produce completely different results in the world. One person says, "I'm going to get that job," and gets called back the next day. Another says the exact same sentence and hears nothing. The difference has nothing to do with the words. It has everything to do with the soul behind them. The first person is speaking from alignment, from a deep, unshaken knowing that this is possible, that they deserve it, that it's already moving toward them. The second person is speaking from performance, saying the right words, while their soul is still broadcasting doubt and unworthiness. Words that come from your soul don't just travel through the air. They move through the field. They reorganize probability. They shift what's possible. But words that come from fear, even when they sound hopeful, only reinforce the fear. Your soul is not fooled. The universe is not fooled. Only you are. So, I need you to ask yourself something honest, not the version of yourself you present to the world, not the version you show on social media, the version that exists in the silence. When no one is watching, when no one is listening, what are you saying? What words do you use to describe your life? What tone do you use when you talk about your future? What do you say about yourself when things don't go the way you hoped? Because those are your real words. Those are the ones the universe is responding to. Those are the ones building your life right now, quietly, consistently, without exception. There is a door between you and the reality you want. Heavy, iron, unmoving, and you have been standing in front of it for years, asking why it won't open. But you have the key. You've always had the key. The key is your communication, in its full depth, not just what you say, but what you believe when you say it, not just your prayers, but your constant inner declarations, not just your hopes, but the frequency you live in every ordinary hour of the day. When you align those things, when the words, the energy, the belief, and the body all move in the same direction, the door opens. Not because the universe suddenly decided to cooperate, but because you finally sent a signal it could receive. I create as I speak. That's what abracadabra means. That's what in the beginning was the word means. That's what every wisdom tradition on earth, from every corner of human history, has been trying to tell you. You are not waiting for your life to change. Your life is waiting for you to change the channel. Start with your words, not the ones you say in front of others, the ones you say when it's just you. That's where your reality is being written every single day. If this shifted something in you, if you felt something move while watching this, share it with someone who needs to hear it right now. And if you're ready to go deeper, beyond just the pillar of communication, into beliefs, emotions, and behavior, everything is here in this channel. Your reality is waiting for you to claim it, with your voice, with your soul, with your word.